Vincent Minnelli spent many of his early years here in Delaware, Ohio. He was born in Chicago. His parents were show people. Now I'm saying show people in the sense of it was the days of vaudeville shows, tent shows. Movies hadn't been invented yet. So circuses, vaudeville, tent shows were the big thing. And they got into this business and they traveled around the Midwest putting on these shows. Things were going well. Oftentimes, though, they would send their son, Vincent. Now, his given name was Lester Minnelli. And they sent Lester either to stay with his grandparents in Chicago or with his grandparents who lived in Delaware, Ohio. And so he spent a lot of time with them as they were traveling. Sometimes he'd travel with them, but other times he spent time staying with them. And that's what really ended up bringing him to Delaware was this, and that is that tent shows, vaudeville, began to die out as movies were invented. Vincent, coming from a family of show people, he too was always very dramatic, they said, and he was also great into art and great into scenery. And as a kid, he began to, he went to St. Mary's School and then went over to Willis Delaware High School and graduated. He, as a senior, and came to Delaware High School. The two plays that year were Midsummer Night's Dream, and he played Puck in Midsummer Night's Dream. He also was in the musical HMS Pinafore. And HMS Pinafore, he played Dead-Eye Dick. Now, they didn't perform at Delaware High School. They didn't have an auditorium as such at that point. They performed the high school performances at the City Hall. The old City Hall, before it burnt, had an opera house on the second floor, an auditorium that sat more than 1,000 people. So that's where they performed. So many different varieties of programs have taken place in that auditorium and reasons for being in that auditorium. And I think of what I heard from former students who were there right after Pearl Harbor was bombed in 1941 on December 7th, the shock of this country when the United States was attacked. Well, Monday morning, following that Sunday, people hearing that on the radio without TV, they gathered the students of the student body into the auditorium and they listened over the loudspeaker. The address given by Franklin Delano Roosevelt declaring war on Japan and on Germany. That declaration of war speech has been so famous in our American history. A day that will live in infamy, as Roosevelt said. Well, you can imagine the feelings of the students in there. You're talking high school students who, from December until the end of the school year, they had left in their school career, maybe if you were seniors. And certainly the boys in that room were thinking, the emotions that they would have, that they would certainly be involved in that war when the school year ended. And so it must have been quite an emotional time. And hearing the applause of the Congress when Franklin Roosevelt gave that speech, and hearing that thunderous applause coming over the loudspeaker and you're sitting in that auditorium would have been quite an emotional event in history, and certainly for that school.
we did not follow the drama club. It was called just Thespians. And then we had sock and buskin. That was for the freshmen and sophomores. Thespians were for junior and senior. We did operettas and then regular plays. And, and not quite the level that the high school does now. We always had lots and lots of fun. Well, I just remember in Pinafore, I had a line to sing called, "I am a mother," and that was supposed to be said with pride. And of course, technically in the story, I'm not the mother, I'm the babysitter. Well, my senior year, I was in HMS Pinafore in the Imaginary Invalid, and the freshman and sophomore and junior years, I was just primarily in the chorus.
Okay.
The first one, the sophomore and junior, was Kate Line. Our senior year was Mrs. Jarrett for music, and Doris Hunter Mock for the actual acting drama part. You need to learn your lines and have patience and listen to the other people finish their lines before you start speaking. And just respect the other actors and have a good time doing it.
Vagabond King. Yeah, she was in the Vagabond King and was the lead in the matinee in the afternoon. And I was on the stage crew, and we did most of the props up in the third floor of Old Willis. And the head of this particular project was Paul Stimmel. We were building the
Staircases.
The gallows. And we did it largely. We did the whole 13 steps and the platform and everything like this, and we had it all built, and we were ready to bring it down to the stage and couldn't get it through the doorway to take it out of the room. So we had to dismantle the whole thing and then take it down piecemeal and then rebuild it on the stage.
When I was a freshman, I had never been in any plays or anything like that. So I was walking down the hallway and I saw the bulletin board, and it had tryouts on there for a play called Betty's Bargain. And I thought, oh, well, I think I'll try that. And so I went, and, I got my little playbook and got up on the stage and read. And then, of course, we had to wait. And then it was about, I don't know if it was a week later. I don't know the timetable, but you went and you looked at the bulletin board, and lo and behold, there I got to be Betty. And I thought, well, that was pretty good for a first tryout. So from there, we went to, then we tried out for a lot of different things, like Arsenic and Old Lace, and then I carried that on when I went from Willis, then even went to college, and then would try out. And my first tryout was for a Shakespeare play, and that was, I went up and read, and I got a part. I was so excited. I got to go on stage and say, "Long live Richard, King of England." That was it.
I was in the band. And really enjoyed that. I played bassoon, which, as you can guess, was probably larger than I was at the time. And Mr. Ross was our director for that. And I do remember I also played clarinet, which I used for the marching band, because of the fact that the bassoon was so large. But I do remember learning an awful lot about being a team in that situation.
Yes, and we had to have an accent you know, because we were old, and we gave these gentlemen that came to our house, we had to give them the elderberry wine. So you'd say, "Oh, wouldn't you like to have a nice glass of our elderberry wine?" And you would serve it to them, and then they would drop dead. And so you'd put them in the bookcase. They had window seats, and we hid them in there, and we hid them around the house, and then I think it was Don Barley and Herman Moshman came in. They were the criminals. And they came in and they started looking around because they were going to take over our house. And they said, "Oh, these old women, they killed more people than we have." And then Ron Gabriel, he was from Delaware, he got to play Teddy Roosevelt. And he would come on the stage and he'd blow this trumpet. He'd blow it and they'd say, "Charge!" And because he pretended, thought he was Teddy Roosevelt, and he'd go roaring up the, off stage. So he was a lot of fun. We had a lot of good memories from that particular play.
It's just there was a singing group called the Triple Trio that we were, if you sang decently well, you were allowed to be in it, and it was a big honor to be in Triple Trio. And we were, what I was going to tell you was about going to Channel 4 to sing on Sally Flower's show back in the day. And when we got there, they found out we didn't have the copyright right to it. I'm not sure how to say that, but we weren't allowed to sing it on TV because we hadn't done the proper legal work. And so we were going to sing "Sweetheart, Sweetheart, Sweetheart." It was Valentine's Day. And so we knew another song, and they let us sing that one, but we didn't get to sing the one we practiced and had the 3 parts for. It was just great honor to get to be in Triple Trio. Cool. One time when we were having a rehearsal for something that was going on, like Delaware Diary, and I came in late because I always babysat after school, and I had to get something to eat before I could get to the auditorium. And when I came in, Mrs. Hearn was standing there and saw me, and she said to Connie Jones, "Go bawl her out for me, I'm too busy." Bawl her out for being late, I'm too busy. And I don't know how Connie must have bawled me out, but I don't remember. I just was so afraid of Mrs. Hearn.
embarrassing. The memory that jumped to my mind was during The Music Man, favorite music of all time. I was playing Eulalie McKechnie Shin, favorite role of all time, still to this day. And there's a part in it where she dresses up like Lady Liberty and sings terribly. And I was really nervous to sing because that's not really my thing, I don't sing. And so Ms. Beery said, well, why don't we just start with you singing normally and then we'll work up to the crazy. And I was like, okay. And so I sang and she said, wow, you just went for it, that's perfect, you're already there. And that was me trying my hardest to sing well. And I guess I just had it in me. And that is my favorite memory.
Louder and